Hello, humans, and welcome
Hey.
to Audioface. This is technically episode 170 bonus. This is an unprecedented episode of Audioface because this is one we're doing live in between our usual holiday break when we take some time off not listening to music or just listening to other music. And that time's been great. Interesting stuff going on in the news. We're recording on the 6th of January, 2021, slow news day.
Slow news day. Like nothing going on, nothing spectacular at all.
Yeah.
No tear gas, nothing.
No justice, no peace. Anyways, but of course, another thing that we learned about at the end of the year was the passing of rap legend Daniel Dumile, better known as either MF Doom or Zevlov X or King Geedorah or Viktor Vaughn. And probably a couple of other ones here and there. Danger Doom, part of Danger Doom, part of Mad Villainy, part of JJ Doom. We was just a prolific collaborator. And we learned of his passing basically on New Year's Eve of 2020.
Yeah.
But his wife Jasmine announced that he had transitioned on Halloween of October 2020. So perhaps in the most Doom fashion ever. We learned about his death late.
Yes. Naturally.
I'm half expecting at the funeral for there to be a Hannibal Buress like imposter sort of thing, just one more time on the way out. But no, it's been hard to really grapple, and the music world has been kind of tough to grapple with this reality.
Yeah. So many
for the
artists
past.
have been sending out their condolences and stuff, and so many have said how much he has influenced them. And basically, your rapper's favorite rapper / your musician's favorite rapper just influenced a plethora of music.
Yeah, we're gonna go into this a lot on this episode, but I think we would also be remiss to not mention like Doom's influence on this podcast itself.
Because he is both of our favorite rappers.
Yeah, definitely. And so this is, and also someone who like, we have different moments of our lives and our friendships, like with Doom music in the background from like when we were friends in middle and high school to like even more recently. So it's very interesting for us, but we're going to talk about, I mean, to some extent, we'll mention here and there the artists that were influenced by Doom had a lot to say as well. But we felt like we'll do something similar to what we would do in an episode where an artist is about to come out with new music, where we'll go through their musical history and kind of do a retrospective of them as artists.
Yes.
So, MF Doom, MF stands for Metal Fingers or Metal Face. You'll find that a lot of things about MF Doom are very much up to interpretation and wrapped in a bunch of different things, almost like he is a comic book character, a supervillain, a kind
MF, the supervillain.
Yeah, it's a motif that he took on very often and very willingly, at least later on in his career. But he is very much an enigma, and I think it's best to start off with the enigma of the masked rapper who has a vocabulary similar to Shakespeare's. It's actually been charted and done. I think the best way to go through it is the start. So Daniel Dumile, he is born in England, actually, 9th of January, 1971. So, damn, that's really close. Would have been 50 today, actually. Oh, no, in 3 days.
3 days.
Yes. But he was another one of those 21 Savage-esques, like born in England, but came over to America when he was younger, Long Island, New York, right around the peak of the early hip-hop era when it was all happening and going on. There's a lot of other Doom-like stuff here, and so if there are old heads listening, I'm gonna go over it a little bit, only because Doom's discography is so massive and I want to get to that. Like, this is a time and an era in hip-hop music, not necessarily the golden age, but just before it, when you had so many young talent and artists who were just getting onto this rapping thing, getting onto the plunder phonics aspect of taking old jazz samples and records, old jazz standards, and remixing them and adding beats to them so that you could rap over them in a 4/4 structure. This is a new thing, and Daniel Dumile and a couple of other people, including his brother, who went by DJ Subrock, and a couple of others who like flow through here and there, were getting together, and as many hip-hop groups started, they kind of started as like not necessarily a street gang, but something like that. KMD, which ended up becoming the name of their first rap group, stood for causing much damage, but then they sort of adjusted the name to be something along the lines of a positive cause in a much damaged society. okay, Doom. But it was an interesting sort of group that started in late 1988, 1989. Back then, Doom's name was Zevlov X, and then there was Subrock, and then there were two different artists who kind of like came in and out of the group during the creation of it. But their first album together, in my brain, there you go. The first album together, Mr. Hood, was kind of just quintessential, especially looking back, it was quintessential early 90s hip hop.
Yep.
It very much goes in line with De La Soul, those kinds of things.
And a bunch, yeah.
Yeah. You have like what became classics, like Peach Fuzz, which has come in many different ways throughout Doom's career. But you hear a lot of what you end up hearing later on from Doom. Samples that are not just like samples mixed from different music genres early on, but like a lot of TV shows and comic books and things like that. That's all in Mr. Hood's early work. And so you have this album that comes out in 1991, and it reaches like a moderate amount of success, especially in the United States. And so, as usual, they're tapped on to make a second album, and that's where the Doom story gets incredibly interesting.
Yes.
So the first album, Mr. Hood, it's like a coming of age, like it's a different time in rap music for those who don't know. Rap is very much not really a gangster rap sort of thing. It's just like high schoolers joking about like being cool, having like cool clothes, attracting women, like that kind of just basic sort of stuff. But a kind of trend that happened with a lot of rap music in the second albums from these kinds of groups is that these groups wanted to take on more difficult issues, more rougher issues in life, more social issues, basically the things that they were going through in life that sometimes the record labels were a little bit more uncomfortable with showing and allowing them to do. Hi, Nico. And so when basically the second album they were working on, as opposed to the first album where it was happy, sing-songy, dancing or whatever, was this darker, look into hip-hop culture and racism and all these different structures. That album was called Black Bastards, and that's where the problems began.
And that's the album cover, that was everything.
We'll probably put the album cover in the video version of the podcast here, but it's the Sambo character who is like kind of being hung on like a hangman sort of thing. Yeah. It's just really wild.
It's crazy,
and so, in the KMD story, I'm skipping a little bit ahead here, but just to explain the album, basically the record label was like, listen, this is one of those situations where like you have punk rock music that's so intense or like against some religious thing that's just like very hard for us to market and sell. And there's debates to be had on either side of that things. But long story short, they gave Doom basically a severance package and the masters to the recording. So that was just the termination of the contract. Doom was kind of left alone to finish the album because the other member of the group left, and his brother, DJ Subrock, was killed in a traffic accident when he was trying to cross a major expressway in New York. So that's kind of where the Zevlov X character ends and the Doom story begins. Yes. I will say Black Bastards as a project itself, it wasn't really released for a long time, so it got bootlegged the hell out of. It was only heard in super underground scenes. No internet, so it was very much underground. It had a lot of really funny things in it. The song What a Nigga Know is kind of just like a back and forth. It's a good separation between the first album and the second album because the same sort of style and tone, but they're talking about much like darker things. It's like a comparison in modern day Doom to the juxtaposition to beef rap versus rap snitch knishes. Like beef rap is kind of like intense and Doom's kind of going at it, but rap snitch knishes is like this fun sort of back and forth with a friend. And Doom kind of starts to explore what it's like to have different approaches to things, but more on that later. But yeah, Subrock was killed. Doom is stuck with this album. He tries to release it, but he can't like really release it anywhere majorly. So the story goes as Doom kind of tells it. He's homeless, roaming around park benches in like New York and the south of the United States, just producing music and just basically depressed as shit, drinking all the time.
Hell because of his brother,
Yeah, and depressed that like the music industry that he had kind of come up with in the first 5 years, like it was very much leaving him behind. And it was a weird sort of thing to kind of go through. That leads then to the true beginning of the Doom story. with Operation Doomsday. So the story goes that during these sort of homeless sort of times where he's kind of wandering around transiently through the East Coast of the United States, he's producing more music kind of as an outlet. He's doing open mic nights, but wearing at first a ski mask, just something to obscure his head because he didn't want to be recognized as Zev Love X and wanted to experiment with the idea of kind of not being known and separating oneself, like the artist from the music. A very common trope in music, but never really done to the extent that like Doom has done it, for example. And Operation Doomsday got released in the early, like late 90s, early 2000s, depending on how you do it, because the release was also a bit of a mess, as with many underground things. And it was kind of, when it was released as it was seen, a bit of a wild, random masterpiece.
Oh yeah, it is undeniably a masterpiece.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good music, and a lot of good stuff that comes from Doomsday. And it's one of those releases, too, there is someone who is basically like wandering by himself, went off for a couple of years, trying to figure out a sound and everything to get up into his own thing. It's remarkable that he was able to create Doomsday within all of the stuff and battles that he was going through. And it has some of my favorite rap songs ever on there.
Yeah, the Doom's style kind of throughout his whole career, but especially right now, is reflective of early hip-hop, but taken to a darker, twisted bent, using the same sort of foundation you'd usually have in music, where you're chopping up samples, using beats. He didn't really use Pro Tools until the 10s, and so he's still using his mixer. I think it's a DGI. I'm not totally sure exactly, but you can tell it sounds almost rudimentary, but it's fit in that time for a reason. And you have this really good use of comic book and cartoon motifs. Of course, very much with the use of Dr. Doom in this. And he's cutting them and pasting them in different places to tell a story that both the cartoon kind of tells, relating to a broader subject about whatever people are talking about, but also as part of Doom's life and the mystique behind him. Doomsday, which was the song I'm playing for the beginning of the intro, which kind of goes, it's a really like strong ballad about who he is as a person, the death of his brother, and all these other things. It has that like really kind of now chilling in retrospect lyric where he's talking about what it'll be like when he dies, and this will be on my tomb and all that stuff. But then throughout the song throughout the album you have songs like Rhymes Like Dimes.
Rhymes Like Dimes, which is unbelievably
jazzy, smooth, really fun.
Because with Doomsday, he samples Sade and stuff, and that's kind of the beat, and it's a little bit more laid back. And then right next to that is Rhymes Like Dimes. Rhymes Like Dimes, it's just like you get up and you're just like, you want to groove to that song, you're just chilling around. That's one of my favorite Doom songs of all time, is Rhymes Like Dimes. I just love it.
It's really good. You have a number of different really good things in there. I think my favorite, I waffle in between this, but my favorite Doom song, one of my favorite Doom songs is Dead Bent.
Oh,
near the end.
Super motherfucking villain.
Because of the beginning line, I hold your mic like niggas hold their girls tight, but I ain't after her, probably your Acura Pearl White.
Back in the day when I had my white Acura, we would just blast that shit when I first got it. And that was hilarious.
And even as doing this, we kind of have to go into Doom's wordplay, because Doom was just on like 3 planets above any rapper, at least up until very recently, and arguably still. Because you almost have to watch like one of those visualizers on YouTube where it highlights every different type of vowel and rhyme, whether it's like an O or an ah or an or whatever. And it just goes how he throws them in throughout the entire song while also doing a completely coherent song. It's not like modern day quote unquote mumble rap where it's just kind of barely making sense or very light subject matter. It's a full song, it's a full story, and oftentimes it's clever as fuck.
It's extremely clever. There's a lot of stuff later on in Mad Villainy where he talks about like anti-establishment stuff within the U.S. government and war and all this, but he's making it rhyme and still making it complete sense while being clever on and being on the nose about it. And it's stuff that is extremely hard to do, and it's one of his many talents.
I mean, Rhymes Like Dimes has that one lyric that's like, only in America can you find a way to earn a healthy buck and still keep your attitude on self-destruct. And even that was kind of a commentary on that, the Trump mindset, one could say. But Operation Doomsday just became an underground legend.
Yes.
Even at that time, when underground hip-hop was a thing. So that's when Doom kind of throws everyone for a loop and is very hard to find, at least under the MF Doom moniker, for 4 years. But if you're not paying attention, you're missing probably the greatest run of albums in rap history. We'll start with King Geedorah, Take Me to Your Leader. So King Geedorah is one of MF Doom's characters. It's rarely come out, and this is the first and like only full album under the King Geedorah moniker. Yep. But the idea of King Geedorah, as Doom has described it, is Doom exists on multiple different planes. Yep. There's Doom, there's some characters we'll mention in the future, but King Geedorah is this three-headed interplanetary monster that is the essence and spirit of Doom that kind of manifests itself on Earth as Doom. But if you have to think of like, if even the more spiritual rappers or even people have like higher powers, this is that higher power, truly speaking. Yeah. So it's sort of like from a omni-god kind of stance. That's a lot of heady stuff, whatever. You just get some pretty cool bangers here. Kind of make playing a little bit with the alien motif. You get some like lasers and fun sounding things. But really, it's just like a smooth sounding rap album. What did you like on here?
Phasers is, I like Phasers. It's a pretty good song. My favorite still is Fine Print. That song is always, as like an album ender, it's really fun as a little ending track on it. And it's something that, like personal Audioface, we listen to a lot and whatnot, and it's something that is one of the first tracks you showed me of Doom's that got me into him in middle school, and we blasted it like 10 plus years later a lot when you were in college. Yeah. So it's a song that I like a lot, and it's just, if you listen to the lyrics, it's just, there's so much to unpack from that song. That was the original song that got me to appreciate his lyricism.
Yeah.
Really.
There's so many good Doom songs, but also Doom instrumentals. I guess I'll kind of skip ahead in that this entire time Doom releases these projects called Special Herbs and Spices, and they're just the instrumentals to his music. Not a lot of artists do this, but I think more should, especially in hip hop. Not necessarily that they should, but it's kind of a cool way to keep the ecosystem going. Because when rappers have cool beats and they just like release those beats like as instrumentals, you're begging for new artists who like look up to you and like what you're doing to try it out and test their waters. And not all of them will be great, but sometimes you'll get Bishop Nehru. Because Bishop Nehru was rapping over a bunch of Special Herbs, and then some of those, all the songs off on Nehruvian Doom, which is a project we'll talk about in a moment, most of those productions were already pre-done on Special Herbs. The rest were a couple new things Doom did, but like most of it was stuff that like Nehru could have rapped over already, which is a cool thing that there's literally 9 volumes of Special Herbs. It's 200 something songs like this, and a lot of my favorite ones come from King Geedorah. So even instrumental wise,
the instrumental of Fine Print is awesome. All the blasting horns and stuff in it with a nice raw drum beat. It's amazing in the production of it. Yeah,
you get Take Me to Your Leader with a good instrumentation. Antimatter, which is the first time at least I know of Doom and Mr. Fantastic being together.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah. So you have,
which then they collaborate a bunch of times.
Yeah. Yes. There's so much good there. And I have so many good memories from this, but I want to continue to, this is my favorite Doom album because I've tested this multiple times. It is Vaudeville Villain.
Vaudeville Villain, yeah.
So let me introduce you to Viktor Vaughn. There's a lot of Doom characters, and MF, so Zev Love X, Doom has mentioned this in future interviews. Zev Love X still exists, but like he is Doom in the past as a young person. He still kind of exists there. MF Doom is just kind of the main entity, the man himself, the myth, the legend. King Geedorah is sort of his spirit in an omnipresent way. And Viktor Vaughn is sort of like the young, new school kind of come-up kind of kid. It'd be sort of like the SoundCloud rapper of his day. Yeah. Where a lot of Viktor Vaughn's lyrics are tougher and faster than Doom. It's a little bit more gangster-ish, like more degenerate than a lot of Doom's lyrics are, but the same sort of style and use of wordplay. I think Vaudeville Villain is one of the most like underrated best rap albums ever because it's kind of an off-the-wall Doom project, and Doom did all these random things. But as a concept album, which Doom pretty much only did concept albums, and as like a full piece, it's good. So phenomenal. Overture makes you feel like you're in the middle of like a 1970s like Batman cartoon you're about to watch. And then Vaudeville Villain comes with like the energy of Fine Print, but even louder, to this like boom bap kind of thing. There's just so many bangers in that. There's so many lyrics in there where he's hitting you. You have some really nice beats in the middle, like Open Mic Nights 1 and 2, where you have these different rappers coming in to collab. Doom doesn't do collaborations that often, but it was fucking amazing here. There's always this sort of backdrop story of Doom being this mad scientist, like he is, like Dr. Doom is in the cartoons. And then you can take that in a bunch of different ways and interpretations. It's just such an imaginative album. And it goes hard. Like, I've definitely driven at interesting speeds on certain roads to songs like Saliva. And probably
I've been there for that.
Yeah, probably one of my favorite songs being Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean, yeah. I was gonna say that's my favorite on this album by far. The thing with Mr. Clean too is like the production of it, it's like the drum beat and everything is like chopped up, morphed up and everything. So it's very unique in the way it's produced for Mr. Clean, and I always love that track.
Yeah. God, all the lyrics in here are so good, but let's see. Hold on. He told his boo, boo, I put a spell on you. Stay with me whether we broke or we well-to-do. If it don't work, to hell with you. May the doorknob hit you where the poor slob bit you. Just no one else could pack these like humorous, sort of like weird, subversive lyrics together in one kind of thing like that. Yeah. Get More Cabbage, GMC after that's really great. Pop Snot in the middle is really good. And all the songs, even quote-unquote filler, are incredible. Can I Watch, which Doom always has like one song with a female rapper. It's just like his way of making albums. And it's really good, this back and forth over like this relationship where they're just like misunderstanding. And the ending refrain is just really hilarious. And then you get Untitled, aka Change the Beat.
Change the Beat.
Which is, it's so wild, but I love it so much. The first part is one of my favorite Doom beats ever, but in typical Doom fashion, he only gives you just the tip
and then changes it.
Yeah. And it changes from like this really dark, deep sort of thing, like you're coming out of a thunderstorm, to like a game show tune, to this like random sort of jazz thing, and then this like darker, like earlier, like venomous villain, which is a Nader thing coming on, and just all this in one song. Basically, the idea is the beat's changing every couple of bars, and Doom's just like getting sick of it or getting over it. It's so creative and inventive, and it's a bonus track that you only get to after like 2.5 minutes of like white noise, essentially. It's a phenomenal album. It's only 56 minutes long. It came out in 2003, and like it's top to bottom just like really incredible. There's another Viktor Vaughn project that came out shortly after called Venomous Villain, like I just mentioned. It kind of has a little bit more of an experimental sound, and I think it's like okay. It's not on many streaming services, and it might be for the better because it's just like isn't as good.
Yeah, and it's a lot of experimentation with it. Which some of Doom's stuff, like there's some of Doom's albums and projects and stuff, a lot of it is a lot of experimentating, so sometimes it can be a hit or miss in that regard, and then other projects are just absolute masterpieces, but like one we're going to get into right now.
Yeah, like Doom has been one of those artists, I'll like, just to like cap that point, Doom has been one of those artists where even the things that I didn't like as much at first, I grew onto with a lot more time. Even in this like time where he's like passing and everything. I've gone back to listen to the earlier KMD stuff that I was like ish about earlier. And even some of the other Doom things from more recently that I was about. And I'm even having like new thoughts and new perspectives about it that I'll have for years to come, which is awesome from an artist. Which brings us to, we've made a lot of declarative statements, more declarative statements than we do on Arbitrary Scale Audioface. But declarative statements, this is the most important underground rap record.
I think this is one of the best rap records of all time.
I would definitely agree with that.
Hands down, it is unbelievably
but it's also
good of an album.
Probably of that list, if you were to make that list of best rap records of all time, most important, the most unconventional on there. Because
for sure.
And other people have talked about this. I believe it was Danny Brown was like, he was talking about listening to Mad Villainy, and he was amazed that you could do, Madlib and MF Doom could do a rap album with no hooks. With a bunch of different skits in it. A lot of the songs were short. A lot of the songs like did Doom changes where beats would change, mixes would change. And it's not annoying. It's a masterpiece. It's a cohesive. And a lot of that
somehow,
a lot of that goes to the fact that Madlib is truly the best producer in hip hop. Yeah. And MF Doom is truly the best rapper. And the way I understood was the beats were made first, and then the rap was kind of made following the flow and the sort of genre of the beat, like how it sounded, how the vibe was, along with whatever Doom sort of wanted to spit in there. The album is one of the few albums I love listening to on shuffle as much as I love listening to in like going straight in.
Yeah.
On shuffle just surprises me so much.
Because you go from bistro to money folder to accordion, and you're just like going random.
Yeah. The Illest Villains is like an intro. Accordion kind of really gets you, accordion and meat grinder I would say really gets you in. But accordion, you get some of like Doom's most like notorious popular lyrics of any time. Get more cheese than Doritos, Cheetos, and Fritos.
Yep.
There's just so many. Living off borrowed time, the clock tick faster. I would almost go into the whole song right now if I could. Meat Grinder is another one with some really fun lyrics in it, borderline schizo. But there are, it's just a really nice thing. And then Bistro always felt like it should be the intro to the album because it's Doom going over this really slick, bassy beat. Kind of introducing you to the mad villain, bistro, bed and breakfast, bar and grill, cafe, lounge on the water. And it's one of Sean and I's favorite things. There's these little voices in the background that go, how do you do? How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do? I love that thing. It's just a minute-long piece. But it's funny because normally like albums that were only like 2 minutes, 1 minute long for tracks, you'd kind of get annoyed and like it'd be feel too schizophrenic.
Yeah, it feels disjointed.
But in this one, it works. Every single song, even though it's short and chopped up and everything changes a lot of the times, there's a lot of skits in the middle of them, they work flawlessly.
Yeah.
And everything tells its own story. And even like my favorite, I don't really have a favorite.
I'm going to try to run through the album and then we'll go to it. Raid, I remember seeing on a Boondocks episode, Let's Nab Oprah.
Yep.
And the Boondocks.
All right, let's roll, and then Raid plays.
Yeah. And that's always what I think of with Raid. It's just like the all right, let's roll song. Like it's squat out. America's Most Blunted is just one of my favorites. You get Madlib and Quasimodo joining on the track, so it's really cool. And yeah, it's just Doom being America's Most Blunted. You have all these random ones in here that like don't. This is a weird album because the songs I would say are filler are not filler, but they are just so much an aspect of the vibe of the album that they can't go away.
Yeah.
Like I don't have much to say necessarily about Sick Fit or Rainbows, for example, but they can't go away. Like they need to be there. They're in the vibe of the album. Same thing with like Curls and stuff like that. But you get to Money Folder, one of our favorite Doom songs. MF Holder of a Boulder, Money Folder. There's Shadow Tomorrow, Operation Lifesaver. Figaro is very high up.
Which is Figaro, I mean, it's a reference to a Mozart opera, which is just crazy. It's just funny.
Doom sings soprano like Una Dociano.
Una Dociano.
Mama told me, blassa and passa a glass of Old E.
I just like, there's one rhyme, I don't even know what it is, but it's like, oh, I'm like, how do you do that without completely tripping over your words or yourself and then go into another rhyme right after that too?
The wordplay is incredible on its own, but then you realize he's rhyming, not just like rhyming two lines, but like he's rhyming syllables with each other, referencing lines that were like 2 minutes earlier in the song.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just like picking up those rhymes again, and that fits with the motif. There's just like so many levels to how Doom makes things that it's sad to see that this kind of thing's gone. Hardcore Hustle is there, Strange Ways, which I think we really did a project about in high school at some point. Fancy Clown, which is interesting because you get a return of Viktor Vaughn, kind of the most recent return of Viktor Vaughn, I think of. And he is, it's not really MF Doom rapping on it, it's Viktor in that voice. It's kind of younger, a little more crass, and you can kind of see that difference there.
This with one of my favorites is Strange Ways.
Yeah.
So in there's a couple of lines where it's like, that's like telling a soldier to drop his weapon, kick him. And then
tell him to get to stepping.
And tell him to get to stepping, exactly. So there's a lot of lines in Strange Ways, which is talking about the Iraq War, because at the time this was made, it was like the height of the Iraq War and stuff. And there's a lot of stuff in there where it's like, can't reform them. Talk about politicians and stuff, and it's like, we pray 4 times a day, they pray 5.
Yeah.
And it's just like going on. It's amazing of a track.
Talking about like how people were divided by like allegiances to country and all those things. Yeah. And song is, I mean, you can count like the regular aspect of it with the skit and everything being 151, but it's very rap dense and it's a minute and a half. And you get so much done. Like other rappers, like I like Kendrick Lamar, I like J. Cole, but they'll take about 4 minutes to get the point across for what they're saying in a song. Doom does in a minute and a half.
Just like boom.
And it's just like, that's always the standard that the best rappers in the game of any kind of time are gonna have to shoot toward. That's the Michael Jordan up there. Like that's the one you gotta go for. We haven't even gotten to All Caps. All Caps might be the best song Doom made.
It's in the top 3. It's hard. There are 3 songs to me that are like unbelievably good, and All Caps is one of those. It's just the production of it, just the rap flow, everything in there is just one of the best rap songs ever made. Hands down.
I honestly, and this is probably the most genuine I've been on the subject ever, Ben Shapiro has this take that rap is crap. I would cross my line of saying I've never debate Ben Shapiro on the condition that before we do any debating or arguing on politics, he has to listen to Mad Villainy, and then we have to discuss whether rap is music or not.
Yep.
Like it's simply, because I'm not going to have any conversation with Ben Shapiro in person on camera until we get through this.
Yep.
Because this is like the biggest spreading point. I think if I can break to Ben Shapiro on this, then there's a lot more we can do.
Yeah, so then we're talking. But then it'd be like, this is All Caps. Like, no, not allowed.
No. It's like, my wife likes hip-hop music, but I don't, because the black people remind me, and never mind, I'm not going to. Great day. Great
not the time.
Great Day and Rhinestone Cowboy are amazing endings to the song. Rhinestone Cowboy is another song I haven't been able to listen to since the passing, because it's just really good.
I can't.
It's a great sort of like solo goodbye.
Make me fucking cry right now. Jesus. I just heard that. I was like, nope, can't do it.
It's just this nice sort of like ending. I think in the lyric, video for it, it's like a dancer in an apartment hallway and then Doom just spitting the bars. And man, the lyrics, everything about it, like hold a cold one like you hold gun, like you hold a microphone and stole the show for fun. Hold on. Known as the top grimy, limey, slimy, try me, blimey. Simply smashing in a fashion that's timely. Mad villain clashing in a beat rhyme crime spree. We rock the house like rock and roll, got more soul than a sock with a hole. It's just, it's just incredible. And like some of our favorite rappers, like Vince Staples and 21 Savage, they do this direct kind of thing where there's a lot of wordplay in the music itself, and that's what kind of makes it great.
Hit her for the one-time bitch called Geico. It's like stuff like that where it's like that's our modern day Doom, where that's the stuff that we want and inject that shit in our veins with the wordplay.
And it's just clever. You're jumping out of the genre, and so like Doom could have ended 2004 with Mad Villainy.
But he did.
He could have ended 3 years and gone without Mad Villainy. He could have just been like, "That's it, yo. Like this, I'm good. I'm retiring." But Mad Villainy was released in early 2004. In mid-2004, we got Food.
Which is my favorite Doom album.
Yes.
Hands down my favorite Doom album. And
so arguably, this is the first Doom album since Operation Doomsday.
Yes.
Because this is MF Doom back in his own sort of persona. It's not King Geedorah or Viktor Vaughn.
It's just MF Doom.
It's not a collaboration album either, whereas Mad Villainy was produced by Madlib with Doom rapping over the lyrics and some things there. This is mostly a Doom brain project, and it doesn't get any better than Food.
It's
a concept
every
album.
single song on here is amazing. There is absolutely no filler on this album.
Every single song is a pun or play on words of food. You have Beef Rap, which starts with a long Doom-esque intro with horror and comic books, all this stuff, and then gets into this hard shit about Doom, kind of talking shit about the rappers of those days who are yuck to all rappers, shut up, and with your shutting up, could you put a shirt on, at least a button up? Is they rhymers or stripping males, out of work jerks since they shut down Chippendales.
And then the next one is Hoe Cakes, which is hilarious. There's a line on here which is, it's like, MF Doom is like DB Cooper. And every time I hear that, it's like, that's a hilarious reference, because it's a perfect reference because he's mysterious. He comes and vanishes. People have all these theories of what he's doing or do next or whatnot, or like his whole persona, and that's like the whole thing of DB Cooper. No one
Rap is full of so much of metaphor that's just like sloppy.
Yeah.
Like, it's like anything Future or Offset says. Like,
exactly.
It's just like, and make it, lick it. It's just like, whatever.
It's like, whatever. But then you go into Hoe Cakes and it's just...
No, because Hoe Cakes on so many levels is because like, in addition to being about the food thing, it's about like Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Exactly. When I'm coming in at U-Haul.
I was about to say the last line is, yeah, he keeps his hoes in check, sends him out to get clothes from all frozen necks, tell him take the clothes, leave him posing naked for real, better yet, give him for the check off the record deal. Find out where you keep the tech and the blue steel, and make sure for extra rec, let him know how you feel. And while he's running down the All-Star Weekend to ball, I'm coming with the U-Haul.
My favorite part.
Because he's just like, you're done.
You're done. You're done Dutskies, boy. Get out of here.
Taking her right from underneath your nose.
Boom.
It's so good. You have Potholders, which is a nice, chill kind of beat. It kind of harkens back to that older, I'd say, like KMD. It's one of the most KMD-ish songs that MF Doom solo produced. Yeah, for sure. It's just like a chill back, laid back kind of song. One Beer is just like a fucking beauty.
It's hilarious.
One Beer.
I love the production of it too. Oh. And then.
So wait, really fast. I want to say something about One Beer because we're talking about the. What is it? The MF Doom cinematic universe. So Tyler the Creator is hugely a fan of MF Doom.
He's like nerdly a fan of
Tyler
Doom.
the Creator's original group, Odd Future, basically exists because of a shared love of MF Doom. There's a video of Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt meeting MF Doom backstage.
And they were both like crying.
They act all cool to see Doom. It's like great. Doom's happy to be with him. And afterwards, they're like actually pissing their pants.
And there was this funny. They were like running back and forth afterwards, like we just met Doom.
And this is like hardcore Tyler the Creator, like burn shit, fuck school, Tyler the Creator, before he got all like earthquake and shit. And he was just fangirling out. But One Beer, in a similar way, the Special Herbs version of it was used for a song, I want to say it's called Odd Toddlers featuring Casey Veggies, but it was used as the Tyler the Creator song. And it uses the same sample from One Beer, or the same sample that One Beer uses. But it's a direct inspiration from that track on M Food. So again, like Tyler the Creator started getting his raps together and released a song on Bastard, listening to MF Doom and getting inspired from MF Doom. There's a direct line between him, Mos Def, and Yasin Bey, a number of other artists we'll talk about in a moment.
Childish Gambino is another one that said that listening to Food himself, and he references Food a bunch in his music. There's a couple times he talks about this whole album where he's like, this is what got me into it. Yeah.
Goddamn.
And then after One Beer, you have Deep Fried Friends, which is one of Doom's best songs because it is
sample too.
Best sample. I think it's the best sample. It's just hilarious. Also, it's very true. Even though it's being on the nose, it's like, friends, how many of us have them? A show of hands, friends.
Yeah.
And just going in about like how friends, a lot of them are like using you or whatnot, or like how many of them are true friends going into them.
Yeah.
How many of them are for the Sunday funnies?
Yeah. It samples Friends by Houdini and Friends and Strangers by Ronnie Laws. There's hold on.
Ones we can't depend on.
The lyric I like, which kind of shows you the whole thing, but it's associates is your boys, your girls, bitches, niggas, homies, close but really don't know me. Mom, dad, comrade, peeps, brothers, sisters, duns, dunnies. Some come around when they need some money. Others make us laugh like the Sunday funnies. Fam be around whether you paid or bummy. You could either ignore this advice or take it from me. Be too nice and people take you for a dummy. So nowadays, he ain't so friendly. Actually, they wouldn't have even made a worthy enemy. That's
the bar.
That's a bar.
Jealousy, the number one killer among black folk. Which is later on in the song, it's just...
And then the other one where he's playing with Doom does this a lot. He uses the sample to help finish his rap.
Yeah.
And he does it a lot with Hoe Cakes with Super.
Yeah.
And the Supersonic thing. But the part where he's like, or else it'd be a sad note to end on. The guns we got is ones we can depend on. There's so much here. So like you get to a filler part of the album with Poo Put Platter, Filet Wrapper, Gumbo, Fig Leaf, Bicarbonate, but they're kind of getting at this almost plastic beach idea of fake and false food in the form of wrappers and the kind of weird impacts they have on health in whatever way you want to do that. And then you get to just like a true kind of homage to old Doom in the latter half of the album with Con Carne, which even has the line, the ending, I dedicate this one to Sub Rock, the hip-hop Hendrix. So it's just like dedicated to his brother.
His brother, which is crazy. You have Guinness is right after that, featuring Angelica and Four Eyes, and that's again one of those like throwback songs too. Then you have Con Queso,
Yeah.
which is just full gas doom, just like full in your face. The beat, the samples, everything's just one of those songs. I just blast that shit going down a freeway way too fast.
A lot of people say doom like raps too slowly, whatever. Con Queso's for you.
Yes.
Because he's got all the flows. This is 2004, and he's like, this would keep up in a song today. Barely, but like today it would. You just get to the classics. Rap Snitch Knishes. Audioface Real Ones would know we did the Rap Snitch Knishes Award, basically brought it into existence to give it to Tekashi 6ix9ine. Because as we said many times during that whole year,
Rap Snitch even told all the Mexican.
the song is prophecy for Tekashi 6ix9ine because it's a thing that happens a lot in rap music.
It happens so often. Hit him with the Hennessy.
You know, your grandma bootlegging, fake hustling nigga.
That's my favorite part of that.
Even Doom starts cracking up because like there's not a lot of songs where Doom does banter, like a lot of rappers just do banter in the background. It's one of the rare ones.
Yeah.
And Doom's like just genuinely laughing in the background.
I wrote stuff when Doom's part comes in, it's like everybody wants to rule
the world for tears for fear. Yeah, tell it on the mountain hill, running up they mouth bill, everybody down still.
Yep.
It's really good.
It's not fake ass bastard. It's just, God, it's such a good song.
This is one of my favorites, actually, Vomit Spit.
Vomit Spit? Yeah, right after it.
Because I think it's the most doomy song on here.
And then I love the little trap do.
Yeah.
Do. That is a quintessential Doom. If you need someone to like get into like what is Doom, Vomit Spit's a good song. Be like, that's Doom.
Jesus Christ, we have to find a way to make this go faster, but like the last song is Cookies, which if you listen to it on a streaming service, don't. Because what you need to do is go onto YouTube and find the version of Cookies that features the Sesame Street music from the 1980s, because the song is a metaphor about masturbation using a bunch of different brand names of snacks and crackers and cookies and all these different things. And it sounds better a lot with the original sample. It didn't clear for obvious reasons. And he put a different one of a different beat that he made, because Doom has hundreds of them, of course. And he put it on the album that's streaming. But you really want to hear lines like this with the real thing. He don't mess with the Ritz bits, wheat thins, saltines, or Triscuits, Matzos or Cheez-Its, cat sugar fits every time he sees a pair of Chips Ahoy, double chocolate chunk, something with the bubble and the junk in the truck. Even the Oreos, no matter what the weather, always kept him dipped in milk and stuck together. In the game, he's shameless, even uses a code name, Famous Amos.
That's my favorite part. Codename Famous Amos. It's just hilarious, so on the nose and stuff with it. But even the two versions, it's funny how different the. I didn't know that he actually did a different beat, especially to Sesame Street in the 80s, because he told me about them. Like, wait, really? Because the original, like the album version of Cookies is the only one I knew of until like last week, and I love the album version of Cookies. Just the beat, everything. It's just like when I first like really dove into the lyrics, maybe 3-4 years ago, I was like, wait. That's hilariously on the nose about masturbating. All right, Doom. And then the original beat is it's just funny as hell. And that's just one of the best, to me, his best album.
Yeah, I think that's the pinnacle of Doom. Not that it goes down from there, but just like, it's just really the top.
Yes.
And the best aspect of Doom, I think one of the best aspects are all of his collaborations and the extent to which he worked with other artists and really sort of put together that kind of... what am I trying to say? That kind of environment to where artists could collab together and work together. So he worked together with not only Danger Mouse on The Mouse and the Mask, but it was also a partnership with Adult Swim. So you end up getting Danger Doom, which was the name of the album, and the album was called The Mouse and the Mask.
Yes.
And, Danger Doom was the group, Mouse and the Mask was the name of the album. And it was an album that was concept themed to Adult Swim shows at the time.
So fucking.
This is my guilty pleasure favorite Doom album, because this is by no means Doom's best album, but the songs I like on here are songs I have played repeatedly more than any Doom song.
So fucking is one of those where even for me, it's an album I've only listened to straight through a couple of times. There's a couple songs like So Fucking where I listened to that song a lot, because of just how the thing with Mouse the Mask, there's a lot. It's a concept album. There's a lot of different sounds, a lot of experimenting. That's what I said earlier. Whereas some of his experimenting, you need to be a super fan of MF Doom to get into.
Yeah,
it's almost like Bjork or Radiohead B-sides of just like weirdness, but it's something that you can appreciate later on. And I love that. There's a lot of stuff in it I like.
Yeah. There is. Unlike a lot of Doom projects in the past, where he is kind of trying to build this universe out of cartoon skits from the past, this is kind of useful because Doom gets to rap about Adult Swim stuff. You have The Mask with Danger Doom and Ghostface Killah, and I'm going to give some examples that aren't necessarily Adult Swimmy. You have Perfect Hair, which I know isn't a reference to some Adult Swim show from the early 2000s. I don't remember it. But the beat on it is one of my favorite things. Like, actually, Perfect Hair this year was my most played song in 2020.
Interesting.
Yeah, I fucking love that song. It's like an all-purpose, any time of the day song. It's very happy considering things I like listening to.
Yeah.
But it's just really cool. You have Benzie Box with CeeLo Green before he made Forget You.
Yep.
You have Old School Rules with Talib Kweli before he got like reverse double canceled or whatever happened with him. Aqua Teen Hunger Force is just like one of my favorite songs on here because it's a song could have really even replaced the theme song of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but it's just describing all the characters. Ending lyric, he should have got the logo tatted to his Woody so he could be #1 in the hood, G. The way the show ends. And so like it's these really clever, like nice things in here filled with different references to Adult Swim shows. I like near the end where you have Vats of Urine with the and Ignignok, the Moonanites from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and then you have Space Hose with Space Ghost. And I actually got the voice of Space Ghost to do a little bit at the end, and it was just super funny. Doom is rapping about like slamming Judy Jetson and all this other shit in the middle of it. Like it's just, he's rapping about taking over this old Hanna-Barbera show where they recycled old Hanna-Barbera things. So it's just like talking about the Flintstones, talking about the Jetsons. I think so he goes, "So Judy, boxers, briefs, or fig leaves. As you know, I wear my boxers so my big song cuts off." Oops. I love the end so much where you're just like, you think I'm gonna hand my show over to you, Doom? Have you lost your fucking mind? That's why I get the phrase, oh yeah, here are the keys to the show. Why don't you drive for a while? America's craving some Doom.
America's craving some Doom.
It's so good.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, I haven't given enough love to Vats of Urine yet, but really quickly, it's a song entirely about pissing and it's mostly factually correct, which is again incredible. But yeah, Mouse and the Mask was a really incredible thing, and I kind of include all of that in addition to the special herbs and products that were released around that time, including the collaborations like Rock Cocaine Flow with De La Soul, like November Has Come with Gorillaz that happened during this time, as all a part of Doom's like colossal master era. It was just like some of the best music he was making.
You've got a lot of other stuff in it too.
Oh my God, I've got to there's so many in there. Like Rock Cocaine Flow was kind of like at a weird time in De La Soul's career. But an interesting, I mean like both for MF Doom and for De La Soul. It was weird because it was such an underground hip hop song, but I saw it performed live on like Jay Leno or The Tonight Show or whatever. November Has Come was like my favorite Gorillaz and MF Doom song for a while because it had two of my favorite artists together on a song. I since have more favorite MF Doom songs and different favorite Gorillaz songs, but November Has Come will always have a place there.
November Has Come.
And Monkey Sweet, like I'll just always associate with you because that was a Doom song you gloved on very quickly. And the bass line is so sick and thick in it. It's just so insane.
Pair of ripped jeans and a bummy shirt.
This one go out to all the fathers doing long bids and sisters who got brothers being fathers to the wrong kids. Stay strong and ride like the funky flu. Won't find a villain in the street inside no monkey suit.
It's it's just, I love how weird of a beat it is, and it's almost like apocalyptic in nature. And I walked around high school blasting that shit all the time on repeat.
It's a trip.
I think there was like a 2-month span where I listened to that song like 5,000 times.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I guess the last controversy we'll get to from this time is the fact that Doom performed live sometimes, kind of, whenever he wanted to. Even if he booked a performance and you bought a ticket to a Doom concert, you may or may not have gotten Doom.
Yep.
He often sent out imposters. A lot of fans were kind of annoyed by this.
Yep.
I would say just like not a cool thing for Doom to do, just like go out and just perform, goddammit. But it's just like one of those random things out there. It's like, this is Uncle Doom.
Yeah, that's the thing. You never knew if he was going to be there or not. Yeah.
Yeah, there were times where, like, I'm not kidding, Hannibal Buress was sent as a Doom imposter. It was supposed to rap.
Hilarious.
And yeah, there's so many good special words you can't go through. But I would say I can point to a time when MF Doom truly entered his uncle phase, and it started with Born Like This.
Yeah.
It was the next and I guess last MF Doom album that was released as a Doom project. And I just really didn't like most of it. It seemed kind of disjointed, sort of like, again, Doom's character was like an old uncle looking onto things, but it felt almost like season 4 of the Boondocks. It was like felt like less self-aware.
And there was some
joke.
Decent stuff, like Gazillion Era. I like as the opening, like after the intro, of the supervillain intro, it's a good track, and then the rest of the album is just okay. Because the issue is because it's something that's almost in a time capsule of all of his other work, that all of the old samples and stuff, until he started using a little bit more of like modern technology and stuff to produce, it just sounded a little too retrospective in that regard.
Yeah. It sounded too retrospective. It felt like some of the topics were not fully like thought out there. Like you go into it, there's songs like Ballskin, Absolutely, Rap Ambush, which have like cool kind of beats in general. But the verses and lyrics, they're kind of quick and fast, kind of in a mad villainy kind of way, but it doesn't feel like it fits like the other albums have. Lightworks is interesting. Batty Boys starts off a weird thing in this album with like oddly homophobic lyrics that don't really have like a point to it necessarily. Batty Boys is kind of a play on how like a lot of superheroes and sidekicks seem to have like a gay thing for each other, but it's taken to a Doom thing where like he's trying to make a point about broader society, sort of like the conspiracy theorists of like chemicals in the water making people bisexual or gay or whatever. And it's like sort of unanswered, not really said in his like hysterical way. It's like, oh wait, Doom, do you really mean this? And so it was kind of weird. It's mostly contained to this album, more or less, but there's still interesting things on here. I think That is a really cool thing. Microwave Mayonnaise is a beat. And I do want to pause on Gazillionaire because it spawned a lot of great remixes.
A lot of remixes.
We can talk about the Tom York remix especially. That was really amazing.
Well, this would started Tom York's like electronic like remixing career and other stuff of him DJing, because he started to kind of get into it in like the mid 2000s or whatnot, around like the Eraser time, and that was the first track I heard of as a Radiohead fan where he remixed something. I'll go, because he's been like featured on a bunch of stuff. I'm like, oh whoa, he did something with Doom. Like that's interesting. And I remember listening to it and thought it was interesting. And I'm like, okay, this is what Tom's sound like. This is what his like remix sound would be like. Interesting. And then going forward, like the Atoms for Peace project, all other stuff, it almost all stemmed kind of from this sound that he made of this remix of then creating a whole wild project and everything.
Because like it sounds like almost MF Doom did a guest song on The Eraser from Tom York.
Yeah, it's like that. It almost feels like a Feeling Pulled Apart from by Horses EP from Tom York, like that dark style. So it's interesting where that almost launched something of one of my favorite musical rabbit holes ever. Yeah.
I liked the other Gazillionaire remix with Gennaro Jarrell and Dave Sidek. It was also
I like the beat on that one a lot.
A lot that you have to thank for that is Dave Sidek, because he is just a really good like DJ and brings out the dancey aspects of that. But another good note is that that's one of the songs that Gennaro Jarrell worked on, and they would end up later connecting Doom would again on the next project, JJ Doom.
Yep, JJ Doom.
Keys to the Cuffs, which is again, I liked it a lot more than Born Like This, so it gave me a lot of hope. But as an album, it doesn't feel necessarily as amazing as one of Doom's projects. But you also get a lot of collaborations in here that me, particularly as the music head I was very happy. This is also a point in the Doom story where Doom went back to England and was not allowed to come back to the United States because of some passport foolery. Yep. And that's kind of the beginning.
He got stuck. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was stuck in England where he ultimately passed. But Waterlogged is an intro. The first song, Governor, begins with villain got banished, refused out the U.S., ain't even Spanish. And that's like kind of helps color.
Funny thing, yeah.
It helps color the way this album is, because if it does have a concept, it's a lot about relating with British culture and understanding it, almost coming to it as someone who's familiar with it, but someone who's been distant from it from a long time as Doom.
And the thing too with JJ Doom is there's a lot of electronic beats in this.
It's a very electronic one.
Which is interesting for like when I first listened to this album, I go, wow, there's a lot of experimenting and stuff that I like, because I always wanted him to go more of electronic direction and stuff to see what he could do and if it worked on an album. I thought that stuff was great, because you have there's a couple tracks, obviously the one with Damon Albarn, but you have
Bite the Thong.
But you have About the Shoes, which has like a trip beat and everything in there, and I'm like, whoa, this is awesome as a little thing, because in 2013, this is when more people were starting to get into like electronic music and started like slowly get underneath this underground thing, and it was cool for me to have my favorite rapper get into it too. To hear it, and I liked Key to the Cups a lot personally.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I think as a complete album, I liked it the most of any Doom like run through, definitely since Food. Bite the Thong with Damon Albarn is completely weird. It doesn't sound like a Gorillaz track. Doesn't sound like anything Doom's ever done. Nope. It's this fun sort of playful thing back and forth. Damon Albarn's doing his like voice echo recorder thing. It's like you have fun, boy. You're a fun little boy. It's really great. But yeah, again, as a Gorillaz fan, I loved that song. Then you have Ryman Slang, which is making fun of like Cockney stuff. Dog friendly, positive, safe, decides, born conversation. This has my favorite Doom skits of ever, because Snatch Your Dough and Wash Your Hands have this really cool like break beat thing, and not break beat, but it's smooth. It has like a bass to it, sort of like Monkey Suit, but it's like a smoother beat paced thing that goes back to that time when Doom would just like leave these little tracks here and there of music that were really cool. It's like you rap over these, Doom. You got to do something with this, Doom. And he's like, no, just leaving them here. They're just leaving them here, and it goes into basically an armed militia trying to relax themselves before they're facing some invasion where they all go crazy. Any news happening today? I
don't know. What is news?
GMO, which I guess where you get the closest to Doom's sort of like Born Like This sort of way, but it's a very clearly like this is someone who's paranoid about every sort of like weird environmental thing. There's a drop of Agenda 21 in the album. Like it's really the Alex Jones kind of Doom song, but it's very self-referential. Like Winter Blues, which is one of the probably few but also really most beautiful Doom love songs that's there, about like missing a loved one. You have Our Word Friend, which again, I like the Tom York and Johnny Greenwood version of more, because it's just like, it's crazy. It's got the weird drum thing.
Because it has the drums from There Will Be Blood in there. Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, so like the latter part of this album has the remixes that I think are really cool. I like the Bad Bad Not Good version of Governor a little bit more. It has slightly different lyrics, actually totally different lyrics. But it's a lot more darker. It kind of feels like War of the Worlds. Like you're at this pre-apocalyptic world where we have to decide between taking care of ourselves or sacrificing our babies to feed to this like monster, or else we'll die. It's super creepy and eerie. And I remember like waking up to catch the bus to go to school, like with that song, and it was like super, just like I loved it in dark. And then you got one of my favorite rap remixes ever, Banished, the Beck remix.
Yeah, the
because
Beck
it's Doom rapping over an alternative song. It's just Beck making an alternative song, and it's like pretty sick. And it's also cool for Beck, because Beck has also done this rapping, spoken word kind of thing throughout his entire career. It's a really great match. And so a lot of that was part of the bonus part of this album. There's a lot of stuff randomly here. There's a lot of definitely filler in this album.
Oh, for sure.
But there's a lot of good stuff here. And you can see Doom's skills and Gennaro Janelle's really good knowledge as a producer as well. So that was really enjoyable, and I liked that. That then leads to Neruvian Doom. Which is what we brought up earlier on in the podcast.
Which then showed me who Bishop Nehru is, who is now one of my favorite young rappers by far. And I think the most underrated rapper now in the game.
I remember following Bishop Nehru a little bit before this came out. I don't know exactly what circles, but I think it was because he was rapping over Special Herbs things. In one of Bishop Nehru's early kind of albums, I want to say it's like Neruvia, the Neruvian EP or something like that. he has several songs that are from Special Herbs. He raps over the mathematics beat from Mos Def. There's just like a young kid who just like has a lot of rap heroes and he's like kind of trying to be like them or do his own flip in his own way. And then Doom heard about this and was like, yo, this is awesome. Let me like produce an album with you. And like as a kid who was about our age, like that must have been like the biggest honor, dream,
it was,
whatever you can do.
It launched his career, and then he even helped produce Elevators Parts 1 and 2 later on, which was one of my favorite Bishop Nehru albums, part of my favorite Bishop Nehru albums still to this day.
Same.
But there's a lot of, in Nehruvian Doom, after intro is, oh my god. That's what showed me his Nehru's flow and everything. That's what got me to be a fan of his. I was like, oh, this guy's good.
It also put Doom in a position to where I prefer many older rappers do, which is they take a backseat to the new artists who can rap better and like rap to newer flows. But then that allows the older artists to really understand production and shoot that to its highest levels.
Yeah. Because on Bishop Nehru's latest album that came out last year, they had Meathead, which was Doom and Bishop Nehru collaboration again. And I liked it too because it was more like, obviously MF Doom was still rapping on it, but he was still taking more of a producer role, and Bishop Nehru had more of the flow throughout it. And that's what at this time after Key the Cuffs, that's what I wanted to hear a little bit more.
Yeah. God, there's so much to go off of there. From Nehruvian Doom, even, you have a really nice songs there. Really, again, Bishop Nehru focus, so you really got to focus on the production from Doom. But Darkness is straight from, I believe it was originally used in King Geedorah, the beat for it, but it was a Special Herb song. And then he rapped over it, and that became like the lead single from it. Great Things also just became like a really cool song. So did Caskets, MF Doom was on. And then Disastrous, which was just another great, like, again, Doom mostly took a production role onto this, but with Disastrous, he sort of like released some of his lyrics that he could have been like holding up there. I'm trying to pull it up really fast because it was a really fast take and really good, but the whole like last thing was good, where it's like, then atrocities seen via TV, as we keep it heated like Fukushima Daiichi. Turn up the temperature, villain and the emperor. Y'all ain't ready like a doomsday prepperer. We stay reppin' till it's spread like the Black Death and shred the mics till no whack left crack breath. Kept it like a shepherd, yet leapt like a leopard for spare shines. Stray slugs graze your hairline. Mine's as hard as to find as Malaysian airline. Crash wreck, soon come back, glue nanotech. It's miraculous, nothing short of disastrous. That's it, nothing come after this. And that's the end of the album.
Yeah.
It's even like, there's one other Doom lyric where he goes, spit so many verses sometimes his jaw twitches. And it's hard to even read these rhymes as I know them, even though I've heard this song hundreds of times.
Yeah, it's so hard to say.
Dense. It's just really good. It's incredible how he does it, honestly. And that was Nehruvian Doom. It was great. Then we had Sarface meets Metalface, which is really the only Doom project we've reviewed on Audioface.
Yeah, and we both thought it was Uncle Rappy.
Very much Uncle Rappy. And like that's Sarface's kind of thing. That's MF Doom's like sort of like vibe and where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you're channeling this era from long ago, and it again feels like you're trying too much to pull into that era as opposed to just like embrace what it was and what it like did for you at the time, and just like let it sort of speak through you, as opposed to really trying to call back and recreate it. If that makes sense.
Yes.
I didn't have like a lot of favorites on it, and we reviewed so much I don't really remember much of it even. But yeah, I just remember not liking it all that much.
Yeah, that was at that point, which was in 2018, so a couple of years ago. At that point, I was like, I want Doom more of a producer role. And then after that, that's when Elevators Parts 1 and 2 came out with Bishop Nehru, and I was like, holy shit, Doom is still one of the best producers in rap genre. And then that really was kind of some of his last works. He did some little singles or things here or there, like he did Meathead with Bishop Nehru, and some other occasional things, and that's pretty much it.
We had that Frankie Sinatra with MF Doom and Danny Brown. So that was a great thing for Danny Brown to do. And yeah, the Avalanches and MF Doom are a great fit, just that like Plunder Phonics bringing voices together. That's just like a perfect thing there. And yeah, there's so many collaborations of Doom. We couldn't talk about how Mad Villainy 3 is floating out there. Mad Villainy 2 are remixes, and there's a couple of new verses on there, but it's mostly just like redoings of things. But Mad Villainy 3 is floating around out there. Doom and Mad Lib were working on a proper follow-up to that album for a long time. As recently as 2015, Doom was talking about being done with it and just waiting for the Mad Lib bits.
Yep.
So that's around there and that exists. There have been some songs that have come from it. I remember Paper Mill was released from the Adult Swim Singles Project.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was supposed to be one of the Mad Villain songs.
Interesting. I did not know about that. I was wondering where Paper Mill came from because I love Paper Mill. That has one of the strangest
samples
ever.
It's a 70s disco track.
It's a 70s German disco track that is just
slowed down and given a drum beat.
Yeah, and it's super random because I remember you showed it to me. That was your alarm clock for like a decade.
Yeah,
so shit still haunts me. Yeah. But listening to it, I'm like, why the hell is this in my language? All right, this works.
Yeah, and
it just and it's so catchy. That's the best part.
Yeah, it really kind of whets the appetite for whatever. Madlib's just got to release the album now. Just,
exactly.
On, you just got to release it. It whets the appetite for whatever's coming on there, and there are going to be huge expectations for whatever Mad Villainy album comes out, especially because of Madlib and MF Doom's background. Madlib produced Freddie Gibbs' album Bandana, as well as Freddie Gibbs' other albums, which have been phenomenal rap records in their own thing. So they're both very proven. There's going to be a lot of expectations. I don't know whether it's going to beat it. All I'm going to say is Mad Villainy 1 holds its place in rap history for me, and nothing can ruin that.
Yeah.
Just period. And so, kind of, that's the story of MF Doom. He's this rapper who had his own story, came up with the golden era of hip-hop, and was brought down as the industry changed. He brought himself back up through, the starving artist kind of motif, but separated himself from the music in such a way where he created multiple abstractions and personas that allowed him to approach the music he was doing a little bit differently. And it's very high-level shit. It didn't land all the time, but a lot of it produced some of the best, like I said, the 2000s Doom, up until Born Like This, best run in hip-hop.
Oh, yeah.
It's still nothing has come close to it. I wish a nigga would tell me that Drake...
stop.
Or fucking Travis Scott, or even Kanye West. Kanye West looks up to fucking MF Doom.
Yeah, Kanye West had 2 really good albums
maybe
back
3.
to back, maybe 3, and then after that, then he drank the Kool-Aid and went off and fucked off to Wyoming, and I was getting divorced.
More on that later. But it is kind of incredible to see just this one man's legacy, not just on what he left and the music that he left and the collaborations that he did, but the artists that we review today and we will be reviewing next year and the year before, who have just at different times casually said, yeah, MF Doom, my favorite thing. That video of Mos Def, crying and giggling, holding a mic as he's rapping verses from Food, going, this is my favorite rapper, dog. Kanye West saying it. And this is while he was alive. He was getting all this praise while he was alive for being this fundamental, foundational rapper. I mentioned that Shakespeare chart where it shows the lyrical density of rap music. And basically it's unparalleled for any kind of artists, basically, except for Shakespeare. At least MF Doom is. Let me see if this thing exists still. Yeah. So there's this one thing that was made a long time ago called the largest vocabulary in hip-hop, where it analyzes the first, I believe, 35,000 words in a hip-hop artist's vocabulary. And so it puts them on this chart.
Interesting.
And at the very end, you have Aesop Rock, of course. And then kind of near the middle, you have MF Doom. Near the end. So
near the end, yeah. You have Wu-Tang Clan.
Single-handedly, basically almost doing Wu-Tang Clans and that's several people. You have Jedi Mind Tricks and Jizza. And Bus Driver, but beyond that, Shakespeare used to be more apparent because way in here for reference or something. But Doom's wordplay is off the charts. There's videos by on YouTube that again highlight them all.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible. It is a very sad loss, but I'm happy that Doom exists and has music. Literally even Doom was introduced to me by my older brother as an intro to underground hip hop. And so I wouldn't understand what I do without that. But yeah, to see us as music reviewers and criticizers, knowing about Doom and the artists that we review and criticize, knowing about Doom and having that influence music is definitely the kind of legacy that musicians should hope to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, MF Doom. Thank you very much for all the music. And thank you, listeners and audience, for listening and watching this special show. It's been a sad one, but we will be back in the proper new year after our proper Audioface break. At this point, like in a week and a half.
Yeah, something like that.
And we'll have new albums to talk about, new things to discuss, and new rap to compare to MF Doom, like a bunch of old heads. Yeah. Not really. This has been Audioface. We can be found on Twitter and Instagram at AudiofacePod. Sean can be found on Twitter and Instagram at SW Suarez. I'm on Twitter, Dan from the Web, and on Instagram at Dan from the Internet. The entire show is at audioface.show, and we're on YouTube at our shiny new YouTube URL, youtube.com/audiofacepod. Yeah, it feels so good. It feels so good. It feels so good. Thank you very much for being here, doing this episode with me, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
MF, the supervillain.
Doom.